Thursday evening, and I'm so excited that you guys decided to drop by. Listen, before we get into this video, I need y'all to
hype me up.
Yeah.
Hype me up.
Come on, man.
Hype me.
Y'all know I need them hypes like a crackhead need a pipe. There's only 2 YouTubers in the whole world that do that, and I'm both of them. Donald Trump is the perfect example of it doesn't matter how much money you have, how many billions and billions and billions of dollars that you possess. It doesn't matter how many rich friends you have, any of that kind of stuff, man. You can't unlame a lame. Real talk. He always hated Obama because deep down inside, even though he was way richer than Obama, Obama had something that he couldn't possess, and that was swag. And that was the love of most of the people. He wanted that, man, for real. And that's why he went on this smear campaign.
Donald Trump is here tonight. No one is happier, no one is prouder to put this birth certificate matter to rest than the Donald. And that's because he can finally get back to focusing on the issues that matter. Like, did we fake the moon landing?
Look, it was right there. Could you see the look on his face? It looked like if he could pull out a firearm and blast Obama and get away with it, he would have done it right then and there, man. I know he was balling on the inside. His face was turning orange, not even red. It was tangerine orange, man. And that was the day, I believe, just like the person that's about to tell you, he was like, you know what? I'm gonna fuck over this, man. I'm gonna run for president. Yep, that's what I'm gonna do.
That night at the 2011 White House Correspondents' Dinner, according to one-time advisor Roger Stone, motivated Donald Trump to run for president.
I think that is the night that he resolves to run for president. I think that he is kind of motivated by it. Maybe I'll just run. Maybe I'll show them all.
That almost makes me mad at Obama. It's like that Interstellar scene when he was trying to say, no, make him stay, Murph. No, no, no. If I could go back in time, I would tell Obama, don't do that, Rose. Because that would prevent Trump from ever having become president, dog. I wish I could time travel.
No! 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 No!
And now, President Trump, who was the first sitting president to skip the dinner back in 2017, will attend it for his first time in office. Trump avoided the event celebrating press freedom during his first term and the first year of his second term.
We gotta address the elephant that's not in the room. The leader of our country is not here.
And then there was this performance from the comedian Michelle Wolf, warning that you might find this offensive.
Of course, Trump isn't here, if you haven't noticed. He's not here. And I know I would drag him here myself, but it turns out the President of the United States is the one you're not allowed to grab.
That resulted in the White House Correspondents Association not even inviting a comedian the following year. But this year, mentalist Oz Perlman will provide the evening's entertainment, and Trump agreed to attend, saying, quote, "It will be my honor to accept their invitation and work to make it the greatest, hottest, and most spectacular dinner of any kind ever."
So by now, you should see the trend. He has a really, really fragile ego, and everything that we say about him negative, it fuels him, man. It really turns him up and make him go that much harder, bro. Yep, so at the end of the day, it's really Barack Obama's fault why we have a cult called MAGA running around who thinks that up is down and left is right and dark is light. It's really his fault, man. He was the seed that was planted that caused this entire movement, man. It's Barack Obama's fault, man. I wish he would have never attacked Trump, dog. We wouldn't have Trump right now.
Why do you think Obama was born in Kenya?
Well, that's where his birth certificate is from. He doesn't want to show it, but that's where he's from.
Where did you hear this?
It's all over the news.
What news in particular?
Well, just listen to it. You'll see it.
Because he was born in the United States of America.
No, he wasn't. Prove it.
As you can tell, bro, we've been dealing with this MAGA cult that's low IQ as hell for the last decade, man. They ain't listen to facts then. They don't listen to facts now. Nothing's really changed. Honestly, the only thing has changed is that they have become a little more emboldened with their actions. A lot of overt racism and things of that nature, which is crazy because, you know, it's like, bro, if you want the country to stop harping on racism, maybe you should stop being racist. They always saying that the Democrats are always trying to make things race-based, but at the same time, y'all are the ones giving them the fuels and the talking points to talk about.
There used to be rumors that Barack Obama was not born in the US, and therefore he could not be president. Some allegations stated that he was born in Kenya, which is where his father is from.
In just a few short weeks, Donald Trump's stance on where President Obama was born has, well, evolved. From this...
The reason I have a little doubt, just a little, It's because he grew up and nobody knew him. Want him to show his birth certificate.
To this.
I'm saying it's a real possibility, much greater than I thought 2 or 3 weeks ago. Then he has pulled one of the great cons in the history of politics and beyond politics.
Obama later released a copy of his birth certificate that showed he was born in Hawaii.
Yep, I remember that like it was yesterday, bro. People was mad at Obama, like he's not even really American, bro. I'm like, oh shit, here we go, bro. It started back then, dog.
So there's nothing Barack Obama could do to prove that he was born here?
If there was maybe witnesses that were attendants at his birth.
Like his mother? Would you listen to his mother?
No. She has motivation to lie.
So you don't trust Donald Trump's birth certificate either?
Yeah, because he's been here forever.
Well, how do you know? But what's your proof?
Well, his parents and...
But no, but they're biased. I'm talking about like people who could be in the room.
Why would they be biased?
They asked these MAGA people, would you believe his mother if she told you that he was born here in America? And the woman said, no, I wouldn't. But then if you ask her the same question about Trump, she'll be like, yeah, I believe her. See how biased they are? That's when they take data from one source and says it's cool, and this is how they try to prove their point. But when you prove a point using the same source, they be like, nah, I'm not buying that. That's crazy. Dog, they are the most delusional group of people I've ever seen in my life.
So it's got Donald Trump's mugshot and never surrender, right? But that is when he surrendered.
Fault is what's happening in Ukraine right now.
Well, of course, it's Biden's fault. He didn't do anything to protect that nation, to protect those people.
When you look at what happened between Russia and Ukraine, you have to point the finger at the leader of the United States of America.
Of course.
Now, if this ain't some delusional ass shit, bro, this man has a picture of Donald Trump's mugshot, man, but they always talking about how certain groups of people are the most likely ones to be criminals, but you voted for a criminal. Low IQ.
Why do you support Donald Trump?
Because of his policies.
Which policies?
His stance on immigration, specifically. I definitely agree with that one.
Okay, like what about immigration?
The illegals who have come into our country are here illegally, and I believe they should not be allowed to be here legally.
Bro, when I tell you none of the talking points that MAGA brings up stands the test of scrutiny, dog. They talking about his policy on immigration when his whole legacy is illegal immigration. Man, do y'all even know about this man's grandfather and the way he got to this country? That's some white privilege shit, bro.
A brave Trump. Avoiding military service in war is a Trump family specialty. The reason the Trumps live in the United States instead of Germany is that the family fled Germany when the family name was still Drumpf to avoid military service. That's why Donald Trump's grandfather came to the United States to avoid German military service in 1885. Donald Trump himself, of course, repeatedly and famously avoided the military draft during the Vietnam War, ultimately getting out of it with a note from his doctor saying that his feet that he spent the rest of his life playing golf on just could not serve in any capacity in the Army, not as a driver, not an office job, just nothing.
So I'm going to paraphrase here. In so many words, what he's saying is he come from a long lineage of cowards and draft dodgers and war dodgers and avoiders. That's what he come from. He don't come from no warrior stock, but he want to send y'all kids and our kids to war to make him and his rich partners even wealthier, bro. That makes no sense to me, dog. But guess what? We're going to go even deeper. Something that he never been able to do with a woman.
This is Trump's grandfather, Frederick. This is his daddy, Fred, who gave Donny Boy $413 million, and this is his mother, Marianne. Now, in Trump's book, The Art of the Deal, he said Frederick was Swedish, but he was actually from Germany and immigrated to the United States and became a citizen, and interestingly, ran a brothel. Then he went back to Germany, but got thrown out because he was, get this, an illegal immigrant.
Now, the whole illegal immigrant thing, I don't know too much about that, but what I do know is this. Back in those days, the immigration policies in America was real loose, bro. You know, in other words, if you was white and you could survive the voyage here, they would grant you citizenship for the most part. And in some cases, oftentimes, they'll give you some free land so that you can get your legacy started. But here's the thing, bro. Y'all heard what the man just said, man. This dude was basically operating in unscrupulous business practices. This man had a brothel, which wasn't uncommon back then, but at the same time, you see what type of stock he come from. He don't come from the type of lineage of people who operate above board. They've always been involved in some type of shady business practices, dog. And guess what? The apple don't fall too far from the tree. But look, I don't expect you to take my word for it. Maybe you'll take it if somebody else tell you.
It surprises people to learn that before the late 1800s, the U.S. essentially had open borders. Naturalization, or the path to citizenship, was restricted to free white persons, and then after the Civil War, black people as well. But otherwise, there was no federal agency controlling who entered the country. After the Civil War, however, as industry grew and American workers feared being overtaken by cheap immigrant labor, states began passing their own immigration laws. Many of our earliest immigration laws were specifically targeting Chinese immigrants, like a California 1862 act that imposed special taxes on Chinese workers. As each state began developing its own immigration policies and requirements, the federal government decided it was time to step in. First up was the Supreme Court. In Chai Lung v. Freeman in 1875, the Supreme Court ruled that only the federal government, not the states, could regulate immigration, partly because state laws risked damaging foreign relations. Chai Lung was one of 22 Chinese women labeled lewd and debauched by California officials, I think just because she was traveling without a male chaperone. She was ordered to be deported, and the court ruled unanimously in her favor. This decision opened the door to federal immigration law and federal exclusion, because in 1882, Congress passed two landmark laws: the Chinese Exclusion Act, the first federal law banning a specific ethnic group from entering the U.S., and the Immigration Act of 1882, which created a head tax and formal federal oversight of immigration. Over the next few years, immigration inspectors appeared at newly established ports of entry, most famously Ellis Island. And so what did it take to come over here legally? Not much. You had to seem healthy, sane, and unofficially white enough. There were no other hoops to jump through, no visas or work requirements. Just show up, make it past the immigration inspector on duty that day, and you were in.
Damn, it's almost as if I was right, bro. It's almost as if I knew what I was talking about.
Now, Donny Boy also lied about his father, Fred, by saying that he was German, but Fred was actually born in the Bronx and, interestingly, was arrested at a Ku Klux Klan rally once. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, now does it? Now, Donny Boy's mother was Scottish, she was an immigrant, and we should remember Donny's famous quote that immigrants are poisoning the blood of America, which would suggest that he himself was part of the poison in the blood of America. Ain't that the case? Anyway, the point of all this is that Trump is telling us we should question Kamala's identity, but there is no question that he has been lying about his identity for years.
This is some funny shit if you think about it. Birthright citizenship. That's really a black issue. And he benefited from it because his grandfather came here running from a war because he was a coward. And then he gave birth to a coward son who gave birth to who we know now as Donald Trump, which is crazy. All draft dodgers, none of them wanted to fight for this country that they claim they love so much. But the thing is this, man, if you black like me and your folks is from America, most likely you've been here longer than his whole entire lineage, man. Man, we've been here for long before he was here, which is crazy, bro. They try to treat us like we second-class citizens when whole time you didn't even come here the legal way. And you talking about keeping other people out.
So to let you know, this is the birth certificate of Donald Trump's grandfather, born in 1869, close to Bad Dürkheim. Right. Yeah.
That's called
and
Syria's.
his Christian name was Friedrich.
Right. That's serious German.
Serious German name.
That's serious German. Bad Dürkheim is serious German. But I want to thank you very much for. First of all, I want to thank you for that. That's
my
beautiful.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again.
Fantastic. We'll put it up in a place of honor.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe we can, let's see. We have to put it up there someplace.
We are having so much in common, our history. We owe the Americans a lot. We will never forget about that. And so with your German provenance, I think this is a very good basis for close cooperation between America and Germany. So again, thank you. Thank you for the hospitality, and thank you for having your guest house for a night. This is a great place. Great place. Many thanks for that. I really enjoyed it.
Now, look, me personally, I couldn't sit up there with a straight face, remembering all the shit I said about somebody else supposedly not really being from here the whole time. They got this plastered in front of America, the proof that my family didn't even come here legitimately. I just couldn't sit there with a straight face, and I believe that's why he looked the way he looked, man. He didn't look like he was proud. He liked to brag about shit. I ain't hear really no bragging right there. I ain't hear too much bragging right there, man. It sounded like he was embarrassed, if you ask me.
You know that Donald Trump's grandfather, Friedrich, illegally emigrated to the United States, fleeing Bavaria in fear? Did you know that was the exact reason he was so uncomfortable in his meeting with German Chancellor Friedrich Merz? Now, many foreign leaders will get on their knees and grovel with some ridiculous golden gift, but what Friedrich did was he brought a birth certificate. That birth certificate was a subtle rebuke of everything Donald Trump is currently doing because it was the birth certificate of his grandfather. It was political brilliance because Friedrich Trump fled Bavaria at 16 years old in the middle of the night in fear because he did not want to be conscripted. You could say that Donald comes from a long line of draft dodgers. Bavaria called for 3 years compulsory military service, but that was not for Friedrich. When he came to the US in 1885, he'd become a citizen in 1892, and he would change his name from Friedrich to Frederick. And all Friedrich wanted to do in America really was to make money, so he went out west and spent his time taking advantage of the Klondike Gold Rush. He wasn't doing any mining, he was in fact mining the miners, setting up restaurants and hotels which doubled as brothels. In 1901, he went back home and he married a woman named Elizabeth Christ. We'll go back to America for a bit, but in 1905 they were done with America. They went back to Bavaria and tried to permanently resettle. Government remembered the way that he fled the country, so they put out a royal decree for his deportation. Begged for mercy, saying this would upset his wife, she wanted to stay there. He had a young child, he asked for someone to care. Despite his legal problems in his own country, he'd come back to the US, settle in Queens, where he would eventually die. Sticking with the concepts of immigrants and rioting and public disturbance, let's talk about Friedrich's son, Fred, who was Donald's father. Fred was arrested in May of 1927 at the age of 21. This was reported in the New York Times. This was centered around an unauthorized march of the Klan with over 1,000 robed Klansmen marching through Jamaica, Queens. There was then a free-for-all battle. There was a big fight between those guys and the police in the middle of the streets. Fred Trump was arrested on the charge of refusing to disperse. He would not be charged with the crime and he would ultimately be released, but this is always a funny detail when you think about the Trump family. The thing is, all this history really upsets the Trump family. In The Art of the Deal, Donald himself wrote that his grandfather came here from Sweden. What a strange lie to tell, isn't it? Because the truth is, none of Donald's grandparents were born in the United States, and only one of his parents was born in the U.S. Because his mother, Mary Ann MacLeod Trump, was born in Scotland. She came to the U.S. when she was 18 years old. Came here in 1930, she'd become a naturalized citizen in 1942. All this combines to let you know why little Donnie here looked like he was about to shit himself in the Oval Office.
Look, to be a MAGA cult follower, bro, is to be a hypocrite, and you have to realize that everything that Donald Trump does, you have to give him a pass because it contradicts anything that he says, and you willingly do it, which makes you crazy and delusional, bro.
Donald Trump has spent years telling us who belongs in this country and who doesn't. So let's talk about his family, shall we? Trump's grandfather was born Friedrich Trump in 1869 in Bavaria. Germany had mandatory military service. Friedrich was required to serve. Instead, he chose to escape the country altogether. He was 16. He bought a one-way ticket, boarded a ship, and sailed to America. Without completing his military service, without officially registering his departure, without doing a single thing he was legally required to do before leaving. He just left, and this country welcomed him anyway. Eventually, he made his way to the Pacific Northwest. Then he followed the gold rush into Canada. During the Klondike Gold Rush, he moved to Yukon and made his fortune operating a restaurant and brothel for miners in Whitehorse. This is not an interpretation. A contemporary Yukon newspaper reported on it directly. The rooms had weighing scales in them, so miners could pay in gold dust for rendered services. The bulk of the cash flow came from the sale of liquor and sex, and that money got passed down. That is the foundation. That is his foundation. So when Friedrich had enough, he packed up his stuff and went back to Germany, got married, and tried to reclaim German citizenship and settle back home. Germany, however, said no. A local council letter from 1905 informed Friedrich that his citizenship would not be reinstated, and that he had 8 weeks to leave the country or be deported. The official reason? He had illegally left Germany to avoid military service 20 years earlier, and never bothered to officially unregister from his hometown. Germany deported him for being a draft dodger. Now, here's where history hands us something extraordinary. Friedrich Trump did not go quietly. This man wrote a letter to the Prince Regent of Bavaria, begging, and I mean begging, not to be sent away. He wrote, "We were confronted all at once, as if by lightning strike from fair skies, with news that the High State Royal Ministry has decided that we must leave our residence in the Kingdom of Bavaria. We were paralyzed with fright. Our happy family life was tarnished. My wife has been overcome by anxiety, and my lovely child has become sick. Why should we be deported? This is very, very hard for a family." And the prince rejected him. Friedrich left Germany on July 1st, 1905. His wife, 3 months pregnant with Donald Trump's father, Fred. That letter sat in a German archive for over 100 years. A historian found it in 2016. The Associated Press confirmed it. Harper's Magazine published a full translation. It's real, it exists. You can read it. Friedrich Trump, illegal immigrant, draft dodger, brothel operator, deportee, wrote a letter that said the deportation was cruel and unjust, and very, very hard for a family. His grandson has deported parents in front of their children, has signed orders removing people who had lived here for decades. He's called immigrants criminals. He's called them an infestation. The German historian who found the deportation document put it simply. Trump talks against illegal immigration, so I think he should remember his own family story from time to time. And here's the final thing that I need you to sit with. If the Prince of Bavaria had said yes, if they had let Friedrich stay, Donald Trump would not exist. Not here anyway. He's here because a deportee begged for mercy and got on a ship. He's here because this country let in an illegal immigrant who had broken the law, dodged a draft, and made his money however he could. He's here because of exactly the kind of person that he's trying to erase.
That is some wild shit, man. That's some wild shit when you think about it, because guess what? When they send their people here, they're not sending their best. They're sending their worst. Many of these people, they're criminals. They are, right? The nastiest. Some of these people are rapists, murderers. They traffic drugs. They're human trafficking. They're doing it all. And they want to take over our country. You know how the man talk, bro. The biggest hypocrite ever. Guys, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I'm going to get at y'all on the next one. And don't forget to
Hype me up. Hype me up. Hype me up.